We've received quite a bit of interest in my free to be workshop, so to that effect, beneath this video is a link that will give you a description for the workshop, and we've also included a special discount. So if that's something you would be interested in, I would invite you to click that link, and I hope that you would find the course to be quite beneficial. I've long held the notion that you can tell the measure of a person's personal stability or maturity by watching how they handle conflict and strain and tension. It's really easy to get along with someone when they happen to be doing everything exactly the way you say you want them to do. But when you have those moments of conflict, that's when you see where an individual has the mature level of being able to have wisdom and patience and all the ingredients that go along with that. Or if you're like that narcissist, you just insist, no, things have to be my way. True to the nature of narcissism, these individuals are very selfish. That's part of what their core ingredients are. Very entitled, highly controlling. They don't have any particular need for empathy with you. They think of themselves as being superior. They have all sorts of hidden strains and insecurities, etc., but they hide behind a false self. They try to present themselves as much better than they really are, and as a result, they can't stand vulnerability. And all of that comes into play when conflicts and strains and tensions come along. And as a result, when you're in conflict with a narcissist, because of their core identifying features, that conflict is going to collapse. It's going to fall apart right away virtually every single time. Now, what I'd like to do is I want to walk you through 5 different levels of relationship engagement, starting from the most basic to the more complex. And then I'm going to show you where the narcissist stands on this and how that can compare to what the healthy individual is going to do. So let's look into this, and I think it'll give you some insight as to why these people can't manage conflict very well at all. Now, the first level of relationship engagement is simply what we're going to call functional. There are all sorts of functions that we have in our life that we need to tend to. I mean, it can be something as simple as pass the salt. Or it may be at work. It may be that you have a project and this person's going to have this assignment, this person's going to have that assignment. It could be that you just have deadlines or you have procedures that you're going to tend to. You got laundry to take care of, going to the grocery store, things of that nature. We're functional and we engage with one another at times based on what the functions that we have in our interpersonal exchanges. This level 2 in our engagements with one another is what we would refer to as rules and regulations, or I actually call it the imperative way of thinking and engaging. There are times when we engage with one another based on what duty says, or when I use the word imperative, have to, must, should, can't, supposed to, got to, had better. You know, my mother's been sick, so I better go take her a meal. Or this, we have a deadline here and I can't stop until I get everything taken care of, and I've got to just make sure that everything else goes by the wayside until I take care of that. Or you shouldn't yell at people, you're supposed to be nice, or you have to take care of these kind of things. And so as we engage with one another, we can appeal to one another based on rules and regulations, and we use imperative thinking. Level 3, we engage with each other based on values and standards. And now this takes us up to a little higher level of engagement with one another. But when we're in level 3 engagement with each other, we're drawing upon personal principles or beliefs or philosophies. For example, I believe that when you have a problem person in front of you, you want to maintain your composure. You want to have kindness or goodness or fair-mindedness. Or there's all sorts of thoughts about, how love comes into play, or what your guiding principles are with respect to family commitments and things of that nature. And you can have all sorts of principles and standards that you draw upon, and as we engage with one another, we appeal to that. Now, level 4, and by the way, sometimes narcissists can get all the way up to level 3, but I'm going to get back to that because the way they manage their standards and principles aren't the same as the healthy individual. Level 4 in our engagement with one another would be engaging with each other with empathy, leading the way. Let's suppose that you have something going on between yourself and the other person, and you think, I have my thoughts, I have my feelings, but so do you. And I want to make sure that I include you in my decision making. I want to know who you are and why you do the things you do. I want to understand what your reasoning is. I want to know your nuances. I want to know what your thoughts and deep history, your backstory might be as it relates to all of this. And so you have that sense of empathy that comes into the engagement with one another. And then finally, level 5 in our interactions with each other is what I would refer to as immersion. There are times when you can be so tuned into another individual that you become that individual's complete safe person. You're fully committed to holding on to goodness and upholding characteristics like being safe or having a sense of community and applying wisdom in the way that you engage. And you want to be as fully informed as you possibly can. And that to me represents the ideal way of engaging with one another. Function, imperative thinking, values and standards, empathy, and immersion. Those are your 5 levels of relationship engagement. Now, when we have conflicts with each other, typically we're going to be at a level 3 where we have a certain clash between our values and principles and standards. Well, I think that we need to emphasize this, and the other person says, well, I want to emphasize that. And when narcissists are at that level 3 and they say, well, here are my values, here are my principles, what they do is instead of moving forward saying, I want to empathize with you and I want to be your safe person, they go backwards. And they, in their emphasis on values, it's like, we need to figure out what your function is. And we need to do, you need to do what you're supposed to do. And so when it comes to that crucible where we're trying to come to terms with how we're going to proceed with wisdom in the midst of our differences, narcissists virtually every time will go backwards and say, here's what your function is, and then appealing to the duty, and you'd better do it the way I say. How many times have you engaged with that narcissistic person and it's like, I have some thoughts and feelings that I'd like for them to know about, but they're so stubborn in trying to tell me what my duty is or what I'm supposed to do that we can't have an intelligent adult decision. And there's a reason for that. Basically, you can see that levels 1 and 2 in our relationship engagement are the ways that we talk with children. They need to know what their functions are, and they need to know what the duties are. And then as they grow into the adolescent years, then we start tying it to the deeper values and principles. But levels 1 and 2 are pre-adolescent styles of thinking pretty much only. Level 3, and then certainly levels 4 and 5 require a certain amount of adult thinking and a realization that not everything fits exactly in the function and the duties that we want. Let's see if we can find out what else we have going on here and go into that space. Narcissists simply cannot do that. So when you disagree with the narcissist, you're going to say, hey, let me share with you where I'm coming from. And you want to generate a certain form of empathy. It's like, well, let me share with you what your duty is. Let me share with you what your function is. And if you don't do it, then there's something very wrong with you. They can't get higher than level 2. They'll say they're at level 3, but they're actually at level 1 and 2 in a very primitive and basic kind of interaction. And they just simply can't go any further than that, which is why it collapses, because life isn't just trying to figure out what the formula says and then sticking with it and doing it, but that's what the narcissist wants you to do. Now, when we come to a place where there is that conflict, there are multiple questions that we could ask ourselves that could take us deeper into level 4 and level 5 communication and interaction. Let me run through these, but then you're going to see, and it's just going to illustrate all the more why narcissists can't go into that space. For example, when you're in conflict, a good question is, how thoroughly do you listen? Another question is, how willing are you to validate what somebody else thinks and feels? You don't have to necessarily agree, but it's like, that's what you feel, that's who you are. Or another question that we can have in conflict is, how open are you to different feelings and interpretations or priorities? Or other questions, how accepting versus how judgmental are you when people come at you with different thoughts and preferences? Or can you be steady or patient as needs arise and are to be addressed? Or another question is, are you able to address the facts of the matter in the context of the other person's backstory as you seek clarity, or do you just push your own agenda? When you are in conflict with someone else, do you tend to fix the problem, or do you examine the possibilities? And so you can see that there are all sorts of issues like that we can bring to the equation that would allow us to go from our level 3, our values and principles, into levels 4 and 5, empathy and immersion. Narcissists, by definition, is like, I don't do that. I don't care about what you think. It's all about me. And of course, any sense of collaboration, co means with, completely goes by the wayside, which is why conflicts will inevitably collapse, because narcissists don't think in terms of empathy, and they certainly don't think in terms of immersion with other individuals, so that we can have a true meeting of the mind and heart. So, like I say, levels 1 and 2 represent pre-adolescent thinking. Level 3 can become a gateway to levels 4 and 5, but typically when narcissists go to level 3 with their values and principles, then what they'll do is they'll say, and here's the function, and here's the duty that this represents, and you need to get after it, and so they fall backwards, and it collapses. Now, if you were to talk to a narcissistic individual about, the need for that empathy and the need for us to be a safe person for one another, the narcissist, if they were to be honest, would say, I don't do that. And my response is, yes, I've noticed that. I need to move on with somebody that's got a little bit more maturity to draw upon so that we can have more success when those moments of strain and tension come. We can get through it, but it requires something higher than pre-adolescent thinking to get us there. Now, I hope this gives you some good awareness of what you might be dealing with. If you've not already hit that subscribe button, I would encourage you to do so, because we're going to keep more videos coming your way, and I hope the cumulative effect of the videos can help you in your personal education. Likewise, if you have a need for therapy and when you're dealing with these kind of things, it sure is nice to have somebody that can say, I can help you sift it out. I've been sponsored for years by the people at BetterHelp.com. We have a link below the video here that would take you to their website. There's a whole host of licensed professional therapists that can assist you. It's affordable, it's accessible, it's effective. And so please, if the need is there, go through the link. You get a 10% discount on the first month. And I'm hoping that you would be able to find the help that you so necessarily deserve. Likewise, I have my therapeutic courses, and I put a lot of work into this, and it would require a lot of work from you. It's like signing up for an online class. Each course has at least 25 videos with written documentation per video, guided questions. I've had really good feedback from people that have taken those. We have Ready, Set, Connect about how to make healthy connections. We have This Is Me about establishing your boundaries with the narcissist. We have Free to Be, finding yourself despite those controllers. In addition, I have my webinars, and they've been very popular as well, and they're on the website, along with access to my podcast. We have many articles. We have my books there, so plenty of resources. I hope that you can see that as I describe these levels of relationship engagement, all 5 of them have their place. But narcissists stay so stuck in functional and dutiful imperative thinking that they can't advance any further than that. Know what you're dealing with, make your adjustments according to what you realize to be true. And then I'm hoping you can decide, well, I'm going to be the person that wants to go all the way into the fullness of relationship engagement, because in doing so, it allows you to become much more steady. And I hope that it's part of you becoming a person of peace.